Hello, friends. We are going to talk about a critical essay which is very short and easy to understand, but very important in the oeuvre of Thomas de Quincey, the author. It is a very major romantic critical essay on the knocking at the gate in Macbeth. Let me give you an introduction. The essay was first published in London Magazine, as most of De Quincey's other essays also were. De Quincey was a major essayist, and De Quincey was remembered for the autobiographical essay that he wrote, Confessions of an English Opium Eater, which was more or less written at the same time as this essay. This essay appeared in October 1823 in the London Magazine. And as I already told you, it's very short, but considered his best critical piece. In this essay, De Quincey discusses Act 2, Scene 3 of Macbeth. Macbeth has just murdered King Duncan with the instigation of Lady Macbeth. There is a sudden, shocking noise of Macduff and Lennox knocking at the gate of the castle. And this knocking goes on through scene 2, and opens scene 3. This scene 3 is called the Porter scene. The knocking ends Act 2, Scene 2 and opens the Porter scene. The essay laid the foundations of later psychological approaches to Macbeth, in particular, and Shakespeare in general. Psychological approach is what De Quincey has in this essay, and this essay inaugurated the psychological approach to Shakespeare and Macbeth. Before I go on talking about the rest of the essay, I want to give you a surprise. I want to read out Act 2, Scene 2 and the beginning of Act 2, Scene 3. You will then understand the psychological effect that the knocking has in this essay. Enter Lady Macbeth. That which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them has given me fire. Hark! Peace, it was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman, which gives the sternest good night. He is about it, the doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drugged their possets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die. Who is there? What ho? Alack, I'm afraid they have awakened, and it's not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark! I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss them. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done it. I had done it. My husband, I have done the deed. Didst thou not hear a noise? I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did you not speak? When? Now? As I ascended, as I descended? Aye. Hark! Who lies in the second chamber? Donalbain. This is a sorry sight, looking at his hands. A foolish thought to say a sorry sight. There is one did laugh in his sleep, and one cried murder, that they did wake each other. I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers, and I addressed them again to sleep. There are two lodged together. One cried, God bless us, and amen the other, as they had seen me with these hangman's hands. Listening their fear, I could not say amen when they did say, God bless us. Consider it not so deeply. But wherefore could I not pronounce Amen? I had most need of blessing, and Amen stuck in my throat. These deeds must not be thought after these ways, so it will make us mad. Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth doth murder sleep, the innocent sleep. Sleep that knits up the ravelled sleeve of care. The death of each day's life, sore labour's bath. Balm of hurt minds, great nature's second cause. Chief nourisher in life's feast. What do you mean? Still it cried, sleep no more, to all the house. Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Corder shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. Who was it that thus cried? Why, worthy Thane, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain-sickly of things. Go get some water and wash off this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood. I will go no more. I'm afraid to think what I've done. Look on it again, I dare not. Infirm of purpose, give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt. Whence is that knocking? How is it with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are there? They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas in incarnadine, making the green one red. My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears us of this deed. How easy is it then? Your constancy hath left you unattended. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us, and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. To know my deed, it were best not know myself. Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking. I would thou couldst. Next scene. The porter is drunken and just waking up because of the knocking. Here is a knocking indeed. If a man were porter of Hellgate, he should have old turning the key. Knock, knock, knock. Who is there? In the name of Beelzebub. Here's a farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. Come in time, have napkins enow about you. Here you'll swear for it. Knock, knock, who's there? In the other devil's name? Faith, here's an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale. Who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Oh, come in, equivocator. Knock, knock, knock. Who is there? Faith, here is an English tailor come hither for stealing out of a French house. Come in, tailor, here you may roast your goose. Knock, knock, never at quiet. What are you? But this place is too cold for hell. I'll devil potter it no further. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. And on, I pray you, remember the porter. Opens the gate and enter Macbeth and Lennox. So that is the scene of the knocking. The knocking is dealt with from a psychological perspective by Thomas de Quincey. De Quincey begins, let us have a brief overview of the whole essay. De Quincey begins by explaining his fascination from boyhood with the impact of the knocking at the gate in Macbeth. And he gives an example to show that understanding alone misleads us in our perceptions. It is not enough to just understand. What is needed then is an instinctive and insightful observation. We should observe instinctively and insightfully. It is not enough to just understand. And then he refers to the Ratcliffe Highway murders, which was very notorious case at that time. The Ratcliffe Highway murders as a reason for his renewed interest in the scene and his insight into it. So that is what he talks about next. The murder itself arouses only base instincts in human beings, and as such is not creative material for a playwright. The murder is not a great creative material. It arouses base instincts. The murderer's mind, on the other hand, the murder itself is not creative, but the murderer's mind provides more scope for exploration to the artist. You can delve into the psychological motives. You can delve into the impact of the murder on the murderer. This is a very romantic approach, looking at the emotional and the psychological side is a romantic approach. In Macbeth, Shakespeare presents the fiendish mind and world of two murderers, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and they are very different. This world is distinct from the human world. In that scene, the knocking and the response of the porter transforms the scene into a scene in hell. It ceases to be a human world, and Shakespeare shows it thus. In a world where fiendish minds work like this and perform such a heinous act, it is no longer a human world. It is devil's world. It is hell. And evil, the evil that works on the human mind, was a very fascinating topic for De Quincey as well as his co-opium eater, Coleridge. Many romantic poets wrote about evil, De Quincey and Coleridge especially. De Quincey explains with an example of how return from such a world to the real world of ordinary life is the critical point of greatest impact. The knocking at the gate brings us from a hellish, fiendish experience of murder. It brings us down to the level of ordinary life. That return from the fiendish world or hellish world to real life is a critical point of greatest impact. De Quincey argues how the knocking at the gate signifies this re-entry into the ordinary world and hence evokes the maximum impact. You are going deep and deep into Macbeth's mind and his rumination on evil. It is like he is going mad already. Lady Macbeth will go mad. Macbeth also will go slightly mad when he starts seeing all the hallucinations. But in that point where it looks like hell, and the Potter looks like hell Potter, when it looks like Macbeth is leaving all signs of humanity or humaneness and going into a realm that is beyond the human, of evil, of madness, at that point, there is a re entry into the ordinary world because of the knocking at the gate. Not only in Macbeth, a lot of horror movies also use this device, suddenly shocking you out of your wits and causing some disruption in the frightening atmosphere that has been created, shocking you out of your wits to make you re enter from one world to the normal world. So here De Quincey argues how knocking at the gate signifies this re entry and hence evokes the maximum impact. And in conclusion, he apostrophizes Shakespeare and claims that Shakespeare's works of art are comparable to natural phenomena like the sun and the stars. So that is the essay in a nutshell. It's a very short essay. We will go into the details of this essay presently.